Media.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Chabruggi. Joining us tonight, of course, we got Derek always over there from Arizona, and we got Kelsey coming in there tonight with us. How you doing, Kelsey?
I'm great. Thank you for having me tonight, you guys.
Glad you are here.
Me too. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, we've been trying and trying.
I know. Finally.
Yes. Now let's see who we got in here. We got Hayes in here so far. How you doing, Lori? How you doing, Nancy? Where are you from, Nancy?
Hayes, Kansas, man.
There's
I got a quick
City.
Hayes story. Somebody once, I was living in this trailer on the outskirts of Hayes, and somebody came out to the house while I was just sitting there and was knocking on the windows. They didn't come in the house, and just really scary. And I left Hayes the next day, but I'm sure it's lovely now.
That's kind of creepy.
It is. I still have nightmares.
I see Pratt. I see Great Bend. I see El Dorado, Salina, Eskridge, Lindsborg, Wichita. Woo!
Eskridge. Never heard of Eskridge.
Where's that at?
I don't know.
I
love this part of the show because I learned so much about my home state.
There's Richmond, Kansas.
I've heard of Richmond, Kansas.
There's Southeast Oklahoma.
Love that. I love it. We're leaving the state of Kansas a little bit.
Yep.
Tremendous reach on this show.
Mayetta. All right.
Well, while we're having some shout outs, Kelsey Youngblood, tell us about yourself.
What would you like to know? I'm back in Kansas.
well, what's funny is I'm from Kansas. Are you from Kansas?
No, I'm from Arizona. That's why I said there. We have totally switched spaces.
I'm from Kansas. She's from Arizona. We've switched places. But we sort of met you. You were watching this show. You started commenting. You started talking to Ricky, and you actually do pages as well, just like Ricky does. So tell us a little bit about what got you into web sleuthing, I guess.
Okay, well, so I've known Ricky for a long time.
Yeah, she's one of the earliest followers. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ricky started the Kansas Missing Unsolved, and then I started the Find Catherine Adam page.
Okay.
And that's how I kind of started following him, is because I saw how much he was into, the missing persons and, unsolved homicides and things like that. So, me doing the Catherine Adam page, I always kind of wanted to be a part of that because I want to solve, find missing people, solve these crimes. So I kind of talked to him throughout the years, and we talk about Catherine Adam and I run several other pages too. So I've just always been interested in things like that. I want justice for people. And I think, making social media pages for them is going to bring more awareness to them and might spark somebody's memory. And, someone can be like, oh, hey, I remember, and maybe we could solve a case. So it's just something interesting to me. I've always been into that kind of thing,
To me, somebody put it, they said, because I try to I'm carrying a torch for a lot of unsolved murders in my hometown, and they're like, Derek's trying to do for people who can't do for themselves. And it's not because I'm a good person or anything. It's just literally, it's because as soon as I found out about that stuff, and as soon as I realized that probably not going to be solved unless somebody starts talking about it again, you know what I'm saying? Because we do this show week in, week out. Once a case hits that 2-3 year mark, that's scary. It might not ever get solved. You might be having somebody do a podcast about it 47 years from now about how it's still unsolved. So I don't know. I feel like, I'm glad that people like you and Ricky exist because, there's so many people who, like I said, Web Sleuths is actually a website, Web Sleuths, but people that just sort of want to help try to solve crimes, try to dig for information, try to dig for photos for people, just try to help people find people that can't help themselves, So I think it's very commendable. I didn't know you guys knew each other for that long, though. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that's my whole goal, is because I kind of focus on the ones that are colder that people don't really talk about, that in like 20, 30 years. And I also started another one that's Voices for the Unidentified, where they, you know, they have found bodies, but they don't know who they are.
Right.
You know, and those are, they go for so long, and it's frustrating to me because there's someone out there that's missing that they haven't matched them up yet. And you hear about cases that are,
Right.
you know, 20, 30 years old that get solved. So to me, the only way to get those solved is to get them out there, you know, and I focus on, if you notice the pages that I have, like Catherine Adam, which, I mean, she's got some media coverage here and there, but the ones that I focus on lately have like no coverage, like Alex Perez, Brian Treasure. You know, there's absolutely no articles, no news, no nothing. So my way of bringing them to life is to create the Facebook page and, you know, have people share that through Kansas cold cases, and just, you know, maybe spark someone's memory of what they might have seen, but been too scared to speak up, or thought that their information was irrelevant at the time. You know, because as time passes, people will be like, oh, you know, maybe not so scared to speak up, or, you know, anything. So that's my whole goal, is to bring cases that have, you know, not a lot of coverage to life, and give them that media coverage, whether it be making a Facebook page or a short video or something, just to tell their story and give them a voice where no one really speaks up for them.
A lot of times too, for me, is I try to stoke guilt, not so much of the assailants, more of the people who know, the people who are harboring this secret for somebody that they're not even sure why they're harboring the secret anymore. You know, that's the sad thing. You have murders that are 30, 40 years old, and people know who did it, and they're not going to say anything because it's not polite to narc. And that's the word, narc your friend out, and snitches get stitches. But I'm so tired of that old mob mentality. We're talking about people's sanity. We're talking about people like, you know, like Leach. What was that guy's name? Leach. His dad
Randy
just passed
Leach.
away without knowing whatever happened to his kid. Like that is a travesty that man met his end without knowing what happened to his son that night. And if anybody out there that might be watching this, if you know what happened to Randy that night, then like that kind of sits on your conscience for the rest of your life. Like you let some guy go to his death without knowing that what he needed to know. So I mean, this is what we're talking about, folks. We do this show week in, week out. If you know something, say something. We're not saying to write a blog about it on Facebook. We're not saying to take an ad out in the paper. Call Crime Stoppers anonymously. But this information has to get out. Otherwise, the police can't do anything.
Right. And Diana Hayden, she brought up, you know, that human skull that was found here in Salina yesterday, which is literally, I was at work yesterday and it was found just down the road from where I work. So
is that the picture you sent me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one right there. Yeah. I want to kind of go into that a little bit. It was like I said, it was found yesterday by a couple of guys that were mushroom hunting along Dry Creek, about a third of a mile north of West Magnolia Road. And you can see there on the map, I got a square there with an arrow pointing right, pretty close to the location where the skull is located. And if you look down kind of to the left, and then Catherine Adam, who's been missing from Salina since 1993, she went missing from the storage facility, which I have squared right there, just down the road from where that skull was found. And then down at the bottom of the picture, I've got it boxed where Kenny Rychek, where he was last known to be at the Gospel Mission out there south of where the skull was found. So when I first heard about that skull, those were the first two that popped into my head right away. It was Catherine and Kenny.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. And you can see the big white building over on the far right there. That's Menards. That's where I work. So you can see
this is all going on right where you work.
Yeah. Right down the road from where I was at yesterday. But they had the sheriff's department out there looking. The KBI was out there looking. And I was talking to a friend of mine today that's in the media, and he told me that no other bones were found.
Just the skull.
Just the skull. And that leads me to kind of believe that apparently my guess would be that an animal found it somewhere and carried it to that location. Would be my guess.
I mean, a skull's a skull.
Yeah.
Like there's some splaining to do, Rick. There's a skull, so it's somebody.
Yeah.
So the Kenny and the other one, those are just your Is that your assumption, or is this law enforcement alleging this too?
That's mine. That's mine. Purely mine. Because, like I said, when I first heard about the skull, that was the first two cases that popped into my head. Of course, I mean, another one would be Anthony Siniscali, who went missing from Salina. I can't remember what year it was now, but he was last seen at Jerry Park, which is down on the east end of Magnolia Road. So that would be another one. And then, of course, Alex Larissa. But I kind of leaned away from that one a little bit because his vehicle was found abandoned out in the northeast part of the county. So I don't know. I mean,
that's the sad thing, though. There's so many possible candidates. Who it could be.
Yeah. But hopefully they can either do, if there's enough teeth left in the skull, they can do dental comparisons to some of these to see if it's one of them, or if not, at least maybe extract some DNA from a tooth or something, and maybe do some DNA testing. I mean,
so you're saying the very bottom squares, and this is you just came up with this, but that's where Kenny was last seen.
Yeah, because he was, after he was evicted from his apartment, he was taken to the Gospel Mission. And that's where he was last known to be, was the Gospel Mission.
But even then, that's a pretty far trek.
It is.
Well, and with him, I feel like, I mean, I know he's only been missing since 2019, which is still, years, but they're saying that it's been a pretty long time. So that's me more to
Catherine, possibly.
Catherine, but
the Catherine one, that I don't know. It all depends on what evidence they have, and everything like that. But to me, it seems like if crime, you look at that right there, you see where she was last seen, and then the skull is. To me, that looks very, very possible. There's a possibility of crime of passion, reeks of crime of passion. Do something crazy. Oh my God, I gotta get out of here. You don't go very far. You get rid of evidence and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, especially in Catherine's, wasn't there like a astronomical amount of blood at that scene? Enough for them to say
there was
that
blood on the ground and bullet fragments, and then there was a bunch of blood in the van.
Yep. And it could be neither one of them too. It could be something that we're not even thinking of, anybody. So, I mean, all I can say is that someone is gonna, have some answers. Somebody's family will. It's somebody, obviously. So.
I guess there was some skull and bone fragments found in Parsons, Kansas.
In February, still waiting on DNA.
Oh,
I think I heard something about that. Yeah.
Diana
said she doesn't feel like it's Catherine, and she feels like that her husband did it, and since he was a truck driver, transported her body to another state somewhere, possibly Kenny, though.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people want to call out Catherine's husband on that one, but through everything that I've heard through podcasts and all the evidence, even the trace evidence, he was never considered a suspect.
Yeah,
doesn't mean he didn't do it, but I've never felt like he was the one that did it.
Right. Yeah. And if it is her, I know the going theory was that when the van was found, there was 60 miles on the van, so they apparently searched, that amount of distance around Salina and never found anything. But if that turns out that that is her skull, then what you and I were kind of talking about before the show was that whoever did it may have wanted to hurry up and do what they did and quickly do something with the body, and then
right.
Get moving. That's what I'm thinking, man. This is, again, could be a plethora of people, but if it's her, it makes sense to me. Somebody does something crazy, whoever it was, and do you really want to? How many blocks, how many miles you want to drive with a body in your car that you just you just murdered? How far do you want to drive with that?
Right.
I mean, I see somebody getting somewhere quick, getting everything out of there, and then fleeing the scene. I don't see somebody. I mean, again, I don't know much about. I haven't listened to the podcast. I don't know much about her husband, but the whole putting her in a semi and stuff. I mean, maybe, but I mean, it's a little Dextery. Maybe that could happen. But I see something like this. It didn't as sloppy as it was. It doesn't seem to me like it was. It seems to me more like a crime of passion and not a well thought out thing.
Right. And Derek, I've always thought that because of the way that it happened, because if you look at everything that we know, she was killed at her storage unit, so she was attacked, and then someone tried to clean it up.
Right.
They didn't plan for that to happen, and it was just very sloppy. So what you're saying makes more sense to me. Like, they tried to distract and maybe dropped her off quick and then drove the van around to, distract from where she really was. And that's why we haven't found her for 20 something years. But again, we don't know.
And Misty's saying that the one in Solana was only the top of the skull and nothing more. I hadn't heard that. All the reports I read all the reports I've read just said a skull. It didn't say top or anything like that, just a skull.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then Brandon is saying there was no bullet fragments according to intel. That her keys were found along the dike. Which dike would that have been? By a city worker.
I have heard that her keys were found somewhere, but they were saying that there was bullet fragments at the storage unit. So
I read that in one report somewhere that bullet fragments were found. So that was out there somewhere.
Right. I mean, it's obvious she was shot. The amount of blood in the storage unit, in the van, so the news article was updated about the skull.
Which article was it that was updated? Yeah, if you could let us know which article was updated, that'd be good.
Right.
I've been watching for updates and haven't been able to find any.
Me too. Ever since you sent me that, I was like, I got to take a quick break to read this article because.
Yeah, Beverly Logan. We've covered Beverly Logan before. Yeah.
Has Catherine received quite a bit of national publicity as far as podcasts go?
Yeah, the lady in the trailer park would have been.
Well,
I just covered her recently too. Doggone it, Gina.
With Catherine, we got them to run a 20-year anniversary story for her.
Yeah.
Her daughter spoke out in the only interview that she ever did, because she doesn't really, it's really hard for her to deal with.
Yeah.
To say that. And then recently, what was it, Ricky? A couple months ago, Trace Evidence did a podcast, and they got a lot of good information, stuff
that was a tremendously good podcast.
And it was about an hour long, and I listened to that thing because I had actually was messaged on the Catherine Adam page, and I was like, wow. So I stayed up late and listened to that, and there was so much that I didn't know about her that put a different perspective into it. And
thank you, Misty. I'll check that out.
But she hasn't had a lot of coverage lately. I mean, I try to, post when I can to keep it alive, but we haven't really had an article about her or anything like that. I think Ricky, and I don't know if you know this, was she featured on America's Most Wanted or something like that a while ago?
I don't remember.
I had heard that, but I could never confirm that.
No, if she was, I've never seen the episode.
Yeah, and I thought it was like years ago, like right after it, maybe like a year or so, or I can't really, don't quote me on that, but obviously more than 20 years ago. So
right.
Well, it's it'll be interesting to watch that unfold over the next couple of weeks here on the show. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it.
I'll be bringing updates as I find out.
We're going to go ahead and cover some cases. A little bit later, we're going to do another deep dive on a case with Kelsey here. We're going to talk about Dana Hupfer. Is it Hupfer?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive on Dana Hupfer and talk about that case quite a bit in depth. But we do have some cases to get through. A lot of people missing tonight. A lot of questions unanswered. You're watching the Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. We'll be right back after this.
If you or someone you know is a victim of human trafficking, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
All right. We're going to cover Adriana Pack. We've covered her before. But there's recently been a media push on her to get her found. I've seen articles about her on KWCH, KAKE out of Wichita. So, yeah, we're going to cover her again. And she's missing from Wichita, Kansas. It's February 21st, 2021. 17 years old. She's 5'2". She weighs between 130 and 145 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She's very active on her social media using names like Anna Puck or Daddy Anna. but she's remained silent in recent weeks. If you have any information regarding Adriana's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9456 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't get her found and get her back where she needs to be.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Wichita tonight.
Maybe.
Brandon says, my fear is that someone in the area who is out violating women, BTK did the same thing.
Yeah, he brought up he thinks there might be a serial killer loose in Salina as well. I've heard other people mention that, and I don't know. I can't really agree or disagree because it sounds like MOs are different, but I mean even serial killers change up their MOs. I mean, BTK. Look at BTK. I mean, he shot, he stabbed, he strangled. So I mean, he changed up his MOs. So
right. So we only have one picture on the next case. But Ricky, go ahead. Tell us about Alexis.
Yeah, it was the only photo that I was able to get a hold of, and it was actually sent to me. And I'm hoping to get another one here. She is missing from Sedgwick, Kansas since April 9th, 2021. She's 16 years old. She's 5'4", 115 pounds, red or auburn hair and blue eyes. She was last seen in the 12,600 block of North 16th Street East in Sedgwick. If you have any information regarding Alexis's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Sedgwick County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 316-660-9478 or 316-660-9456. or 316-660-3900, or KBI at 785-296-4017, and see if we can't help get her found and back to where she needs to be. And if anybody may have a better photo of Alexis Capps, please let me know. You can message it to me. I will gladly add it. And I want to address this comment. Here to watch from my sister Taylor Reem, and she is on our list of cases to cover tonight, Nikki. So we will be covering her here after a while. So
we can go ahead and cover her right now since her sister's here.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to, let's do it.
Let's go ahead and do that.
Okay. Taylor Reem is missing from North Kansas City, Missouri since March 8th of 2021. She's 26 years old. She's 5 foot tall, 130 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen at the Poor Boys Convenience Store and Gas Station at 2601. I'm not sure I'm going to say this right. Chateau Traffic Way in North Kansas City. Her family told police it's unlike her not to stay in touch with family. If you have any information regarding Taylor's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the North Kansas City, Missouri Police Department at 816-274-6013 and see if we can't get some information generated on Taylor's whereabouts and where she may be.
She's really pretty.
Yeah, she is. And if anybody has any information, no matter how small or minute you might think it might be, call it in anyway. It may just be what North Kansas City PD needs to lead them in the right direction. So please do that.
Yeah, I mean it's terrifying, man.
It is.
A month and some change ago, and nobody's heard from her. Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah, definitely.
Her friends and family are probably just beside themselves.
You are very welcome, Shannon. And Nikki, we hope it definitely helps get her found.
I love doing this show, but I hate doing this show.
Yeah, it does put you through some mixed emotions. I mean, it's a good feeling to know that you're part of the solution and not part of the problem. But it's kind of a bad feeling knowing that we have to do it to help bring these people home. But I'll want to keep doing it. Like I said, I'm going to keep doing this until the day God decides that I don't need to do it anymore.
Right.
Which will be the day He calls me home.
Right.
Sorry, my is Russian and she just disconnected from my phone.
I was wondering what in the world.
Like, what is that?
I was like, the government has finally tapped in.
No, it's because I got this Bose speaker, and then when I set it up, I was excited to set it up. So she speaks Russian. So whenever I disconnect, that's what it sounds.
Do you speak Russian?
No.
Oh, so that's even more fun.
I only know what she's saying because she says, Moto G disconnected. So I've learned Russian as far as my phone is connected to the Bose speaker or disconnected. Sorry,
you're very welcome, Nikki. You're very welcome.
When I disconnected.
Oh
wow. Now we covered this case recently, but I'm glad we're covering it again. Tell us about Angela.
Alrighty, Angela Hammond. I've got to find her flyer. I know I pulled it. Well, no, I guess I didn't. I will go pull it. Give me just 2 shakes of a rat's rear end, and I will have it.
Watch your mouth, Ricky. There's a lady present.
All right, here we go. Angela Hammond missing from Clinton, Missouri since April 4th of 1991. She was 19 when she went missing. She would now be 50. She's 4'11", weighs between 120 to 240 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. She was talking to her fiance Schaefer at a telephone booth in a parking lot outside the Food Barn store in the center of town in the area of Jefferson Street and 2nd Street. Angela told him she was too tired to meet with him as planned and she would go to their home and take a bath instead. She also told him about a suspicious man circling the parking lot in his old truck. Angela described him as a filthy, bearded man. She said he parked his truck near the booth and got out of it with a flashlight as if he was looking for something. Suddenly, Schaefer heard Angela scream and the line went dead. Her car was later found abandoned in the parking lot. Schaefer immediately drove to the phone booth. On the way there, he passed a late 1960s or early 1970s model green Ford F-150 pickup and heard Angela scream his name, Rob. Schaefer followed the vehicle for about a mile on 2nd Street and Culvert Drive, but his own car's transmission failed and he had to stop driving. Schaefer stated the truck he saw had a decal of water or an outdoor scene completely covering the rear window. It was actually a fish jumping out of water scene, possibly with a white top and possible damage to its left front fender. Witnesses reported seeing a Caucasian male driving a similar truck near the telephone booth at the time Angela disappeared. The man, who has never been identified, was wearing coveralls, a dark-colored baseball cap. He had eyeglasses, a beard, and a mustache. If you have any information regarding Angela's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Clinton, Missouri Police Department at 660-885-5561. And let's see if we can't get some information generated and get her.
I think that should be a movie, man. That is so... That whole story is so that is so crazy, man. She's the whole story is crazy, man. I
remember you guys talking about this last week, and it just seemed so interesting to me, to say the least.
Yeah. You're very welcome, Hope. You're very welcome.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, man.
Yeah. Very detailed.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
Very detailed. It's like he had a mustard stain on his shirt.
Yeah.
It's like just so. I mean, for real though. I mean, I'm joking, but it's a very detailed story that just I want. How many people saw pieces of this story? Because I know other people said they saw the truck or they saw the guy by the gas station.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another thing is why just one time? Why does somebody just one time fly off the deep end, kidnap somebody in broad daylight who's on the phone? So at least somebody's gonna know you just did something sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a horrible idea,
Yeah.
Try to rob somebody who's on the phone with another person. They're gonna tell them what you look like. It's just the whole thing is just how did it never happen again? It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Misty. I just pulled that article up, and it does say the story has been updated to include that only the top part of a human skull was found. Saline County Sheriff Roger Sullivan said Thursday morning that despite an extensive search of the area, no other evidence was found that would help identify the person to whom the piece of skull belonged. He said the piece of skull has been sent to the lab for DNA testing.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just the top part of the skull.
I wonder how long that will take before we know anything.
I don't know.
Because I'm really anxious about this one.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
Me too.
We've covered this case recently, but I love when we cover cases. This guy just looks like he would be like a really cool guy to like listen to stories from. I don't know, but tell us about Art. I would just like, he just looks like a kind of guy that like I want him to tell me like I just want to go fishing with him, you know? He looks like one of those guys. You just want to go fishing with, and he'll just tell you stories all day. Anyway, tell us about Art.
Interesting thing about Art Goebel's case was I do flyers for a detective down in Wichita when he gets a hold of me and have me do them. And there was another detective that was working with him, and her last name was Goebel. Well, I didn't put two and two together right away until her and I were talking one day, and she thanked me for doing the flyer for her dad, and I was like, "Who's your dad?" And she said, "Art Goebel." And I said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "You're very welcome. I didn't know that was your dad." And she said, "Yeah." And she thanked me very much for doing that. So it kind of surprised me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. On July 16, 2017, Wichita police officers were called just before 2:30 a.m. to a shooting at the Lamplighter Mobile Home Park near MacArthur and Hydraulic in Wichita. They arrived to find the victim, Arthur Goebel, suffering from gunshot wounds. Goebel was taken to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police say a stranger wearing a mask broke into the front door of the Goebel's home. Goebel confronted the intruder. That's when the man shot and killed Goebel and ran away. Police have nothing to go on but a very vague description. If you have any information regarding Art's death, please call Crime Stoppers at 316-267-2111. There is a $10,000 reward available for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the death of Art Goebel. So if you have any information on this at all, no matter how small you think it might be, call it in, because it may just be what Wichita Police needs to lead them to who did this to Art. And it looks like he was a Vietnam veteran as well. He's wearing that Vietnam veteran hat there on that right picture there. So, yeah. So, please call in the information you have about that.
Right. Yeah, that's that's just terrible, man.
Yeah. Yep.
We have somebody watching on YouTube. One person's watching on YouTube. I love it. State your name.
Yeah, state your name.
It's probably somebody watching on a guest account.
And share the video.
Yes.
Yes, share that YouTube video.
Shit. We need to pump our YouTube numbers and our Periscope numbers big time.
Yeah.
Tell us about Freddie Albert. I'm not even going to try to say his last name.
I guess Iwert is about the best I could come up with. Yes, this is a very lengthy one, so hold on to your hats. Frederick Albert Iwert is missing from Washington County, Kansas since April 20th of 1983. He was 66 when he went missing. He would now be 104. He is 5'11" to 6'1", weighs 200 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. Fred was last seen in Washington County, Kansas on April 20th, 1983. He owned a farm near Washington County State Lake with 17 cows and 2 bulls. His sister stated Fred was devoted to the cattle because they belonged to his late wife. His brother saw him that morning, and Fred said his neighbor, J. Ted Garner, a chiropractor, was coming over to help with farm chores and give him a chiropractic treatment. That same day, Fred paid delinquent personal property taxes on his cattle to renew a $1,500 note and to borrow an additional $500 he needed for farm repairs. The vice president of the bank saw him that afternoon and asked him about rumors that Fred had a girlfriend and he was selling his property. Fred denied having any girlfriend and said he had no plans to sell any land or livestock. He left all his belongings behind, including his 3 walking canes, his wallet, checkbook, driver's license, and medications. Garner claimed Fred had met a woman named Martha Klein through a personals ad in Topeka, Kansas weekly newspaper. Klein was supposedly in her 60s and owned 31 acres of land in Mississippi. She supposedly visited Fred in January of 1983 and returned on April 17th. Garner said he'd driven Fred to the Corner Cafe 6 miles west of Washington, Kansas at 9:30 p.m. on April 20th, and Klein was waiting there in her car. Fred left with her, telling Garner, if things don't work out, I may see you in a couple of days. Garner also said Fred sold his property and livestock to him prior to his disappearance, but Fred's brother said Fred hadn't sold anything. Authorities traveled to Mississippi but were unable to locate Klein. A search of subscribers to the newspaper where the personal ad was placed turned up no results, and when police searched through records of every state, they couldn't find anyone named Martha Klein who was the right age and knew Fred. No one else besides Garner had heard of this woman. Garner produced a bill of sale of property and a lease agreement with an option to buy, both signed with Fred's name, in which he turned his livestock and farm over to Garner. The documents were dated September 20th, 1982, 7 months prior to Fred's disappearance. Garner said he'd paid $30,600 in cash for his property, but agreed that Fred could keep living on the farm as long as he paid the utility bills. The documents expert with the KBI said he was virtually certain the signatures on both papers were both forgeries. In October of 83, Garner was charged with Fred's murder. He was convicted of felony murder, attempted theft, and forgery in January of 1984. And Garner was only the second person in Kansas convicted on a murder charge where there was no body present. So if you have any information regarding Fred's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Washington County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-325-2293 or the KBI at 785-296-4017.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of information on that one.
I was 2 months old, man.
And Trisha Arnold is asking us to drop our YouTube link. Yeah, let's see if I can.
How.
We'll do that real quick here.
I would just name the YouTube channel, right? They can just look your channel name up.
Yeah, you can look it up. It's under my name, Ricky Chabruggi / Kansas Missing and Unsolved is what it's under.
You can also go to backhomemedia.com and there's a whole page about Ricky and all of his links. It might be easier just to go to backhomemedia.com and click on Ricky's pick. Click on, it'll say shows. Click on Kansas Missing and Unsolved, and there's a big, beautiful picture of my friend Ricky.
Oh, boy. And I just commented the link, too, so it's there.
Awesome.
It's going everywhere. Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, it's there.
Tell us about Jordan Lester.
All right, Jordan Lester, missing from Olathe, Kansas since April 9th, 2021. He is 18 years old. He's 5'10" to 6 foot tall, weighs between 140 to 170 pounds. He has black hair and brown eyes. It's believed that he may be in the Lenexa, Kansas area. His hair is cut short to about 1 inch length and curly. He usually wears a beanie most of the time, so his hair stays covered. The tube center pictures are the most recent of him with the beanie. If you have any information regarding Jordan's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Olathe, Kansas Police Department at 913-782-0720 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can get him found and back to where he needs to be.
Kelsey, the safe word at Back Home Media is cheeseburger, but if you don't want to talk about it, just say cheeseburger. But we deal with a lot of people here that left on their own volition. Have you ever done that when you were younger? Did you ever take off?
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't. So I don't know what that's like. But I guess, do you have like any advice for these people that are out on their own volition? Because like to me, it just seems terrifying. Like you're just out there, you're not an adult, you don't have like, you usually don't have money, stuff like that. Like I guess like what do you say to people that are out there right now that might be watching this that are right now considered runaways?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is like your parents are worried about you. There's somebody that's worried about you. You're young, you're out there, you probably have no money, no transportation, you're vulnerable. Like, just let somebody know that you're okay, because I know there was a few times that I ran from foster homes and my mom didn't know where I was. And I didn't even think about how how that affected her. You know, I was only worried about me and my situation. So, I mean, I guess my thing is just like, you know, think about your family when you're doing this. Like, people are worried about you. Like, if you're going to do whatever you're going to do, that's fine. But let somebody know that you're okay. You know, at least make contact if you can, you know, and say, hey, like, yeah, I left, but I'm okay. You know, that's the biggest thing for me is there's so many parents out there that are worried about where their children are, if they're okay, you know, and the time goes on, it's like, you don't know if they're dead or alive. And that's very scary as a parent. You know, I remember one time my daughter didn't get off the bus when she was supposed to. And for me as a parent, that's very scary because she could be anywhere, you know, and, you know, you're talking about, you know, when I ran or whatever I did, but when I was younger, I was 5 years old, I was kidnapped.
Whoa.
So I think about that too. And I think, you know, my mom was like scared. Like she didn't know if she was ever going to see me again. And I think that's the biggest fear as a parent when you don't know where your child is, you know? So just, I guess that's all I can say is just let somebody know you're okay.
Yeah.
Come home, at least make contact, be like, I'm okay, I'm alive, you know?
Somebody tried to kidnap me. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like that happens. Like I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you guys got, there's people out there that they're, you know, they have something going on in their head that's not right. I remember I was like 5 or 6 years old, just in like Kmart or something, and some girl just came up and grabbed my hand. She's like, come on, let's go. And she had like a death grip on my hand.
Yeah, I was 5 years old and I was standing out. Well, we had a little apartment complex in Phoenix and there was like 2 gates and this guy came in and just nabbed me up really quick. I was for 45 minutes thanks to Phoenix police. Like they were on it, you know, because like in the 80s, like child kidnappings were a big thing.
Yeah.
You know? So luckily I made it back home, but I could only imagine what was going through my mom's head at that time. You know, not only was I kept at 5, and then when I was a teenager, I ran and did all this stuff. So I put her through a lot. I'm sorry, Mom, rest in peace, you know?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can really say is like, at least make contact with somebody. Let them know you're okay. If you're not going to come home for whatever situation, if it's bad at home, let somebody know that you're okay.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing is not knowing, you know, not knowing whether someone's dead or alive. You know? Thank
you, Trisha. We love that. Yeah, you know, it's scary. Like if like I lost my son when he was like 3 for maybe 2 minutes, 120 seconds of sheer terror.
Right.
Because I immediately went like, okay, he's been kidnapped. He's been murdered. I mean, and I just lost him on the playground for 2 minutes and there was 100 kids there. So I kind of just lost him and it was Where's Waldo, you know? But I mean, I can't even imagine like what your mom or dad felt like when they're just like, oh, my 5-year-old just got snatched up by somebody. Like that is terrifying. But
well,
I mean,
and they didn't really even know, you know, I was gone and my mom goes out there and yells for me. I'm nowhere around. She looks for me, couldn't find me. So, you know, her first instinct is get on the phone. Like, I can't find my daughter, you know, and I didn't feel like I was gone that long. My brother said it was a total of 45 minutes. You know, and they dropped me off a block away from the police station. Thank goodness they dropped me off and they were quick to find me, you know, so I was lucky. I mean, I could have been trafficked or thing could have happened to me, but I made it home. So,
yeah, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
But I want to address this comment real quick here. Nancy saying she was informed if somebody's over 18, they won't look for you. They're over 18, so they have a right to disappear. The PD here informed me that just yesterday when I called to check on my brother, Ricky, would you check message from me? Yeah, I'll check your message here in a little bit. Is that here in Kansas? Because in Kansas, there is a missing person statute that was enacted in 2014. It was recently updated in 2020. And it states that when any law enforcement agency is notified of a missing person, they must, without delay, file a missing persons report and have it entered into NCIC and on KBI's missing persons website within 2 hours of taking and filing that report. And it doesn't say it has to be juvenile or anything like that. It's any missing person.
There's too much accountability in 2021. You can't like back in the, you know, how many times do you watch these old crime shows and they're like, we went to the police station. We couldn't find our 5-year-old Kelsey. We couldn't find her. And the police said, well, come back in 24 hours. And you're just like, are you crazy?
And seeing
Like,
Kansas,
and
there is
you know,
no
it
waiting.
doesn't really happen like that anymore. But I mean, honestly, though, like Ricky's saying, yeah, technically you can go missing as an adult, but like if you're not even calling if you're going radio silent to where you're not showing up to work and stuff, that's scary. You know, and the police have to take that pretty, you know, pretty seriously, pretty early on, or there could even be there could be problems against them later on down the road that they didn't move fast enough. Ricky's right. I think that's why this show's as busy as it is. We have a ton of cases to get through tonight. Speaking of which, we got to get some. Go ahead, Ricky.
So Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt did away with that 24-hour, 48, 72-hour nonsense, and like I said, it states in that statute that when any law enforcement agency in the state of Kansas receives a missing person, when they're notified of one, they have to, without delay, take that report and file it and get it in NCIC and on KBI within 2 hours of taking that report. And the only way they can not is if they know where that person is, or if they already know if another law enforcement agency has already got a report filed for that same person, then they don't have to duplicate that report. But other than that, they have to take and file that report, and they can't say, "Oh, by law, if they're an adult, they could be missing if they want, but they still have to take that report and file it." The only difference between adult and a juvenile is with an adult, they do not have to reveal where that adult is located if the adult doesn't want their location known.
I think they'll at least let you know if there's a heartbeat, though, right? They'll be like, look, we found them. They're not that into you. They don't want you to know where they are, Yeah.
They'll tell them, hey, we found them. They're okay. They just don't want it to be known where they are. And by law, we can't tell you. But we can tell you that they are fine.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody's allowed to check out. As long as you're, not, as long as it's a healthy version. I'm just taking a break. I'm not talking to anybody. Everybody's allowed to do that. But yeah, like in these cases, like, there's a difference between like 2 people not seeing you or 3 people not seeing you, but like if your parents, your sister, your siblings, and then you don't show up to work, that's scary. That's like go to the police and they take you seriously.
I think I know what you're talking about, Nancy, and I have a flyer up for him, I believe, and I think there is a report actually filed for him. But
I think I know who that is too.
Yeah, I think I know who that is too. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
I can't either. But I know you and I have talked about this one, Ricky.
Yeah.
Having said all that, there's one too that I was dealing with, Brian Trester, that his family tried to report him missing, and they said, no, you have to wait 24 hours. But they found his truck stuck in the mud, and they knew it was like unusual for him. So like if family is saying like this is not his typical behavior, but they kind of blew that one off thinking, oh, well, he's on probation, all this, And
anytime you have that, yeah,
because they look at it, they're like, oh, he's just absconding, he's a criminal. And then they didn't find his body until 2.5 years later,
right.
So they never really even looked for him because they're like,
a lot of that could be not strictly policy, more personal interference. Maybe it's a smaller community. Maybe the police force didn't like him. Maybe they had an issue with him.
And that's what I thought about that too.
He probably got subpar treatment not from police, but from a certain sector of people that represented the police to a certain extent. But
unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, these days you don't hear a lot of stories of them being like, well, you have to wait 24 hours. Most of the time, if enough people haven't seen you in a while, you can usually get at least a report filed. Ricky, tell us about Jocelyn. I know you're doing some digging here, but we got a show to do, buddy. What are you doing over there?
I know.
What are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing my doings. I've been trying to actually get Jocelyn's up for a few days now. I needed more information, and I finally got it, so. Anyway, Jocelyn's missing from Kansas City, Missouri since January 30th of 2021. She's 14 years old, 5'4", weighs 135 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen in the area of 50th and North Oak Traffic Way in Kansas City. It's believed that she may be in the Blue Springs, Missouri or Leavenworth, Kansas areas. Again, she's 14 years old, 5'4", 135 pounds, brown hair and hazel eyes. Excuse me, it's hazel, not brown. I got to correct that. She has a beauty mark on her upper lip. If you have any information regarding Jocelyn's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call 911 immediately or call the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department's Missing Persons Unit at 816-234-5136 or 816-234-5111. And again, the correct eye color is hazel, like I have it down in the body. I got to fix it up there at the top. I meant to do that before I posted it. Yeah, and yeah, Nancy, I agree. Filed almost 2 months later, yeah.
It's too young to be just like in a city unaccounted for.
I have done flyers for Jocelyn in the past, and I don't know what's going on. Nancy, if El Dorado Police is refusing, like I said, I think that there is a report filed because I believe I did find him on KBI's website, which means there is a report filed and it's in NCIC if it's on KBI's website. So I believe there is, if it's the person I'm thinking of, there is a report filed. And I did not, and by the way, I looked for your message and I couldn't find a message from you because I did look for it.
Let's talk about Mackenzie Goodall.
Okay. Mackenzie Goodall is missing from Wichita, Kansas since April 16th of 2021. She's 13 years old, 5'2", weighs between 110 and 120 pounds, has black hair and brown eyes. It's believed she may be in the local Wichita area or that she may try to travel outside of Wichita. If you have any information regarding Mackenzie's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9456 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get her found and back to where she needs to be. And Mackenzie, give somebody a call, let them know where you're at, where they can come get you and get you back where you need to be.
Wow. Anytime I see these like super young ages, man, I'm just like, how?
Yeah, I know.
I get nervous leaving my house, and I'm 38.
Yeah,
I just don't see how people are just like, well, I'm gonna go out and do it. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. Yep. I couldn't do it. I never even entertained the thought of running away when I was that age.
You're way too soft for that.
Yeah.
Way too soft.
Yeah. Yep.
She says it's on Kansas Missing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I knew it is. I just can't remember his name without looking.
What up, Christopher? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Chris.
When will people understand that exploration of Kansas has been happening for years, but law enforcement is overwhelmed?
I think he meant exploitation.
Exploitation. Okay.
I think that's what he meant.
I used to have a big chip on my shoulder towards law enforcement about like unsolved crimes, but there's this little thing called proof.
Yeah.
And you can hear the juiciest piece of information about a case and you can be like, oh, let's get some cuffs and go get somebody. But I mean, that's not how the world works. Yeah. You have to have a really strong case. And honestly, a lot of times people are like, why haven't the police made a move? It's like, the police, if they're good police, if they're good detectives, it's like a snake. They're not going to strike you until they know they got you. They're not going to risk getting, their head cut off. They're like, okay, I'm going to strike you whenever I have you against the wall and I got you. And that's the thing. So sometimes it takes a long time for these police officers to build cases, but really the number one thing is nobody talks to the police. Like some people do, but very few and far between. Most people just don't talk to the police for reasons that, they don't want to be involved. I think a lot of it too is it's not nice. People don't like to go talk about something unpleasant. You don't want to involve yourself. You don't want to. Yeah. It's like it's none of your business. But I mean, literally, like people that if you're sitting around wondering why you have so many cold cases, it's because people aren't talking or to the right people. They're talking at parties and to each other, but they're not talking to the police.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it, Nancy, and it's who I was thinking of. He is filed through Mitchell County Sheriff's Office, and he is in NCIC through them. So being that they've got him filed, El Dorado doesn't really have to file one since it's already filed with Mitchell County. That's part of that statute is if one's filed by another law enforcement agency, then the second one doesn't have to file it. So since it's with Mitchell County, it's already an NCIC nationwide. So
Awesome.
and we've got him on Kansas Missing too. So
Police want evidence because they want charges to stick. Yep.
that's true.
I mean, how frustrating is that going to be? You know somebody did something, but you failed to do your job correctly, and then you failed to prove it to a jury of his peers, he or her, and they walk freely when everybody in the room knows they did it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. Yes, there's some bad cops out there, people. I'm not going to say and pretend like there's not. I'm not even talking about cops. Detectives. There's bad detectives. There's bad police work. But I truly, honestly think that the job is a lot harder than anybody thinks it is. I think, you know, especially when nobody's talking to you directly, you're hearing stuff like second person, like, well, somebody told me this. I mean, it's just really hard, and you have to be meticulous. You have to prove it. You have have one shot. You can't try somebody twice. It's one shot, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad Mitchell did file it. I mean, at least it's that way. It's filed. It's in NCIC. So being in that it's in NCIC, it's, you know, it's in the missing persons part of the national. NCIC literally stands for National Crime Information Center. So it's national in a national database. So
Alicia has a good point. She said, case in point, Lucas Hernandez case out of Wichita with his stepmother.
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to follow that case because it just breaks my heart. So is that a situation like that where it looks really bad in her camp and nothing happened?
I am trying to remember. It's been so long since I revisited it that I don't honestly recall. I think she did end up getting convicted for it, but I don't honestly remember the details. It's been so long, and I've done so many cases since then. I'd have to go back and reread articles and everything.
That happened when I was on the East Coast, and I was, you know, that Kansas made the news, and it took a long time. I didn't even hear it on the news. I saw it on social media. People were like, "How is this not mainstream news? How is this not mainstream news?" There was accusations that it was because of his skin color that he wasn't receiving national mainstream news. Then I started following local Wichita outlets following that case. But yeah, it's another one that, like, it's just frustrating. It's like it gets lost in all the legal stuff, and at the end of the day, you're just like, time out. What are we doing? Like, somebody killed a kid. Like, why are we sitting here and having all these conversations and, you know, this and that and this? It's just like we lose track, you know, with the whole legal system. You just lose track of what. There's no justice in it. It's just, you're not going to bring anybody back. I don't know. I could talk for hours. She says she was convicted. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's dark. That's dark.
She committed suicide. Oh, that's right. She shot herself. That's right.
Oh, yeah. See, she said they didn't move on her right away because they wanted an airtight case. Wow.
That's
Alicia.
right. Thank you for the reminder. I had forgot about that.
I had no idea any of that happened. I'm glad Alicia showed up tonight.
Mm-hmm. I'd forgot.
And Diana with the assist, helping out with some of the information.
Yeah.
Tell us about Tanaja.
Yeah, you jumped way ahead.
Case? No, I skipped the case. Yeah, Natalie Baker. I'm sorry. We'll get down there.
And actually, she's another one. I had just updated her flyer. It was located safe, and she turned around and went missing again. Missing from Wichita since April 11th of 2021. She's 17, 4'11", 115 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. She no longer wears braces that's shown in the center picture. And if you have any information regarding Natalie's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9456 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't get her back to where she needs to be. And Natalie, if you see this or, you know, somebody tells you about it, you know, give somebody a call, let them know where you're at so they, you know, you can get back to where you need to be.
Tell us about Robert Jones Jr.
Okie dokie. Robert Jones Jr., missing from Parsons, Kansas since February 17, 2021. 17 years old. He's 5'9", 160 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. Was last seen in the 1900 block of Crawford and Parsons. It's believed that he's in southeast Kansas. That's kind of vague, but that was the information that was given to me. If you have any information regarding Robert's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Parsons, Kansas Police Department at 620-421-7060 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. I'm going to see if we can get him relocated or located. And I was asked to reshare his flyer so we could get him found. So
we've seen Parsons a couple of times.
Yeah. Yep.
We got a lot of cases to get through, so we're gonna kind of move through a couple here. Tell us about Sasha Brooks.
Yep, she's one we've covered before in the past, but I don't mind covering her again because she's still missing. Missing from Newton, Kansas since December 16th of 2020. She's 36. She's 5'5", 165 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding her disappearance, you know of her whereabouts, please call the Newton, Kansas Police Department at 316-284-6030 or the Harvey County, Kansas Communications Center at 316-283-4190 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And see if we can't get some information generated on where she may be.
Do you have any info on this one at all? Like any deep info?
Nothing. I wish I could get a hold of some.
Right. Anybody in the Newton, Kansas area? What have you heard? Maybe not blast it here publicly, but message Ricky, Kansas Missing and Unsolved.
Yeah.
And we'd like to know what people are talking about with this case.
Yeah.
If you don't want to tell the police, we can. You can tell us. We'll tell them.
Yeah.
But people know something.
Yeah.
People don't just vanish.
That's for sure.
Now I tried to cover Tanaja earlier, but now I will put it up there now. So my bad for earlier.
All right, we've covered her before, but I updated her flyer with that center picture on the flyer earlier today. It was sent to me. She's missing from Kansas City, Kansas since March 15th of 2021. She's 17 years old. She's 5'2" to 5'4", weighs between 100 and 145 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. It's believed that Tanaja may be in the local Kansas City area or she may be in the Topeka, Kansas area. If you have any information regarding Tanaja's disappearance or you know of her whereabouts, please call the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department at 913-596-3000 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. See if we can't get her found and back to where she needs to be. She's been gone a little over a month, so yeah. We need to get her found.
Or at least let somebody know she's okay.
Yeah.
At least that much.
I'm looking at her picture. She looks way younger than 17.
I was just thinking the same thing. She looks young.
Yeah, she does. But let's see if we can help get her found.
Yeah. A couple Kansas City cases tonight. Tell us about Tyler Fraley.
Okay. Tyler Fraley is missing from Wichita, Kansas since March 9th of 2021. He's 16 years old. 6 foot tall, weighs between 115 and 130 pounds. He has reddish blonde hair and brown eyes. It's believed he may still be in the local Wichita area or he may be in the El Dorado, Kansas area. If you have any information regarding Tyler's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9456 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And Tyler, give somebody a call, let them know where you're at, and let them know you're all right, and let them know you're ready to come back to where you need to be and start taking care of business.
Call somebody you went to school with.
Yeah.
Call a teacher you trusted. Call a friend's parent that you trusted.
Yeah.
Call somebody and say, "Hey, I'm okay."
Yeah.
At least start there.
Yep.
Because I don't know if you know this, Tyler. I don't know, but the mind, when left unchecked, can wander to some very, very dark places. So anybody that cares about you, has probably imagined a lot of horrible stuff that could potentially be happening to you because they're worried sick that you're not accounted for. You just calling one person and saying, hey, I'm okay, alleviates that. Yeah. It stops that from happening. People right now are worried about you. You might not even believe they care about you, but people care about you. And they are worried sick. There's better ways to do things than just taking off, than just, it's, reach out to somebody, let them know you're okay.
Yeah. Nancy saying Tyler had been seen at his mother's house a couple weeks ago in El Dorado. His mom was also my brother's girlfriend. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, let somebody know, man. Your picture's on Ricky's desk.
Yeah.
A couple more, and then we're going to do another deep dive with Kelsey tonight. Thanks for hanging in tonight. We got about, a little while left in the show, but thanks for hanging in with us everybody tonight. Ricky, tell us about Zorian.
All right. He is missing from Wichita, Kansas since April 13th of 2021. He's 15 years old. He's 5'7" tall, weighs 140 pounds. He has brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information regarding his Zorian disappearance, or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9456 or the KBI at 785-296-4017. And see if we can't get him found and back to where he needs to be.
Right.
Yeah. And Zorian, I hope I said that right. Let somebody know where you're at and that you're all right and, you're ready to get back home and take care of business.
Agreed, man.
Yeah.
You had sent this one midway through the show, and then we're going to do our deep dive. Go ahead and tell us about Alexis.
Okay. I was wondering if you got that one or not. No, I got to pull up his fire because I didn't pull it up. Oh, I'm batting 1,000 today, guys. Forgive me. This was a last-minute one that I did right before we went on. He's missing from Topeka, Kansas. Alexis Alex Aguilar, Overland Park, Kansas, been missing since April 19th, 2021. He's 31 years old, 5'5" tall. He's 200 pounds, brown hair and brown eyes. He is autistic and has been suffering from anxiety and depression. If you have any information regarding Alex's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Overland Park, Kansas Police Department at 913-895-6300. or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get him found and back to his family. His family's reached out to me and asked me to make his flyer, so I want to get that out there and get it shared and get him found. So please help us with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you ever see this, Alexis, just know that it eventually gets better.
Oh, okay. And I just got some going back to Robert Jones Jr. that we did just a little while ago. I just got some information that he could be in Labette, Crawford, Cherokee counties in Kansas, or even in Joplin, Missouri, or just south of Cherokee County, just into Oklahoma.
Somebody saw him, or?
Well, this is sent to me by the gal that had me do his flyer. So,
okay.
So she's kind of narrowing it down a little bit there.
This guy.
Yep. So it sounds like he could be down in that area of Kansas or over into Missouri or down into Oklahoma. So everybody keep your eyes open and keep sharing his flyer. I just happened to see I had a new message in my email and clicked on it to see what it was. And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Dana. So I guess Ricky can read the flyer, and then Kelsey, you can kind of just take it from there, and we'll just have a discussion. But Ricky, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Dana Hupfer On June 18th, 1999, the body of 25-year-old Dana Hupfer was found so badly beaten her own mother could not recognize her. Renee Bryant said, "I couldn't have identified her. I had to identify her hands." Dana was 25 years old when she was killed in Wichita at her home in Great Bend. She had 8-year-old twin girls and a 7-month-old baby boy. Devin Hupfer says he misses and loves his mother. Casey and Lacey Hupfer think of their mother daily and told us she needs someone to be there, and we don't have a mother or father. I'm quoting from an article. Renee has stepped in to raise her grandchildren, and every year they take a trip to Wichita to make sure Dana is not forgotten. This year, the family walked around the area of 10th and Water where Dana's body was found. They wore signs on their front and backs as they put up flyers with their mother's picture, asking for anyone with information to contact them or police. After 21 years, Dana's killer is still on the streets. Casey and Lacey tell us, again quoting the article, at least knowing who she hung around with so they can give us information. Sure, the person who did it won't come forward, but maybe one of their friends would. Detective Rick Craig is the lead investigator on Dana's case. To this day, her picture sits on his desk and will until the case is closed. Craig says they've interviewed hundreds of leads and that the case is still open. They've gone to several towns and interviewed hundreds of people. Dana did have troubles in her life. She was trying to get back to Great Bend after a short stay in the Sedgwick County Jail. If anybody has any information regarding Dana's murder, please call Detective Rick Craig at the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181 or the KBI at 800-572-7463. And the family of Dana Hupfer is offering a $2,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for Dana's death. So if anybody has any information, no matter how small or minute you think that piece of information may be, call it in anyway. It may be what they need to point them in the right direction. So please help us out. And Kelsey, did you want to add to that?
This one makes me just really sad, honestly. I mean, all of them are sad when it's an unsolved murder and you want to know what happened. But I talk with Dana's mother quite a bit. And I made a video for her recently, to kind of highlight who Dana was as a person. Because with this case, I feel like, Dana was just looked at, well, she had trouble with the law, she was into drugs. And I think that, whoever knows what happened to her didn't speak up because of either fear of the police at that time or fear of retaliation from whoever they hung around with. I'm saying that right, if that makes sense. So I'm hoping after all these years that someone may have gotten clean or someone has a change of heart that'll come forward and be like, this is what happened to Dana, because she has 2 beautiful daughters and a son, and they want to know. They want that closure, and they've never been able to have that because nobody's spoken up. And I feel, with some of the other cases, it just got brushed to the side because, talking with her mother, there was a lot of, different stories on what may have happened. And I think some people said some things and it just, the case obviously ended up going cold. And for them to be able to move on and just have someone brought to justice, it's been almost 22 years now, somebody knows something. So it's just, and Dana was a sweet girl, she would do anything for you. She'd give you the shirt off her back, and someone just took advantage of her and, and that's how she ended up the way she did. And it's this one, just like I said, it's extra sad for me because I feel like she just really just tried to fit in and ended up with the wrong people, and no one wants to come forward and, help her family get justice that she deserves. I mean, look at her.
Yeah.
She's just, this one really got me. And when I made the video for it, I watched it and it was hard for me. And especially being in contact with her mother. And seeing how she's just been trying to, raise Dana's children. And it's been hard for her. It's a struggle every day. And she still continues to fight and still continues to have some kind of hope that, somebody will be brought to justice eventually. So.
We do hope that, covering our case, recirculating our flyer. We hope that that's, get people talking, get people to,
Right.
share what they know. Then it's time to get somebody to be held responsible for what they did to Dana. They need to be held responsible.
Right.
So hopefully we can help get that information going.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to say this name right, but I don't know if is it Renee?
Renee.
Renee. Okay. Thank you. And Renee, you're very welcome, and we do hope it helps.
Yeah. Like I said, with this one, I just feel like a lot of people looked at her like, oh, she's in trouble with the law, and and
yeah,
just a bad situation all over, and that was my whole point of making the video for her, which got shared quite a few times into groups and stuff to see, who Dana really was as a person, bring her to life and be like, look, she's a mother, a daughter, a sister,
mm-hmm.
and she deserves to be able to, have that justice for her family and her children. And
yeah, she does.
Like I said, I don't really contact I've made pages. I don't really get in contact with a lot of the families, but, Renee and I really talked quite a bit about this when I was putting the video together. So this one really, especially, is a little tear-jerking for me, just, looking at her photos and just, I see a girl that just, she had troubles in school. She was bullied a lot. She wanted to fit in and ended up with the wrong crowd, and someone took advantage for her, and she paid with her life. And
yeah,
it's not okay. It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
So, especially for her children and her mom, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will help get closer to getting somebody to, where, get them where they need to be off the street.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while. 1999.
Now, almost 22 years now, but we've had cases that have gone even longer and end up getting solved. So, but the only thing we can do is just, and I've emailed news stations saying, hey, you guys, it's been almost 22 years. Can we run a story about her? Because just like with Alex Perez's page, there's been so many shares, and then people are, you saw the Snapchats, people are speaking out, saying the wrong things, and somebody's going to get caught, or somebody will know something. But the only way to do that is to keep it alive through media, and, hopefully it will trigger someone's memory, or someone will be, wanting to speak up, but that's, it's just sad to me. It really is, because these families just, they just want the justice, and they either don't know what happened to them, or like with Alex, they don't know where he is, what happened to him, if he's, have those answers, to be able to move forward with your life, whatever it may be, but.
Yeah, and it's time for people to start talking,
Well, and that's the thing too. People like you can remain anonymous,
Yeah.
So nobody has to know it's you.
Yeah, and Alicia's, she said you might try sending a message to Annette Lawless on Kate.
She's been awesome. She's the one that brought up Brian Trester's case to me.
Yeah.
So she's really active in our community. So I might try to do that, because I've emailed quite a few news stations, and and I was even trying to get them to do Catherine Adam again.
Right.
Because we haven't done anything for a while on her. I know we got the 20-year one, but I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was part of that story too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Out of my list now, so I'll be, like I said, the next few weeks I'll be really trying to focus on the notes that I've made here for all these missing people.
Right.
Well, we have the cherry on the top of every show that we get to do one. We don't get to do one every week, but excuse me. This is Located Safe. For this is we don't number our shows as numbers anymore, but this is episode 53, I think.
I think
in case one got went there missing. But this is episode 53. Thanks for watching that. We'll be right back after this.
All right. Always like to see that, and I just want to remind everybody that we had Madeline Baker's previous located safe flyer on the located safe
my bad.
girl, and she is actively missing again. So that was her previous located safe flyer, not the current
Well,
one. She is still
We
missing.
still celebrated finding her for a little bit. That's why we put her on the reel,
Right.
but she's remissing. But yeah.
I saw that and I went, uh-oh.
Well, it's technically true. They found her, but she just ran away again. But
yeah.
thanks everybody for being here. Kelsey, what all pages do you have? I think you said them a little bit tonight, but let's do a rundown. What all pages are you doing right now?
You're gonna make me think. So Catherine Adam, find Catherine Adam, Facebook.com/find Catherine Adam. Tabitha Brewer.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I think it's just Tabitha Brewer missing. Shawnee County, Kansas. Dana Hupfer, Unsolved Murder. Brian Trester. Justice for Brian Trester, I think is what it's called. Alex Perez missing. Kansas Cold Cases. And I think that's it for right now.
Yeah, and the Tabitha Brewer is Tabitha Brewer missing 1998, Shawnee, Kansas.
Okay. I couldn't remember the exact name because I think I changed it a while ago because it used to be Find Tabitha Brewer. But yeah, those are all of them, I think.
Heck of a show, y'all.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I actually got to join you guys tonight.
I think you should just join. I mean, people are tired of seeing me and Ricky's faces.
Well, we're talking about 1 week that, for all the runaways and stuff, like you brought up, asking me, like, what can I say for that, Like, just let somebody know you're okay, because someone had said 1 week, you guys need to get a female on here.
Yeah.
So
we agreed. We agreed.
Mm-hmm.
We did. Any leads on the location of Gerald, the first-degree murder of Courtney Ann Hoffman?
I haven't heard anything on that.
I forgot about that one. Nothing on that. And that was the one in Salina, right, Ricky?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she was the one that was gunshots rang out, and then there was a scream, and she was found shot dead in her car.
Are they still looking for that guy, or weren't they looking for somebody?
Yeah, they're still looking for him.
Oh, so
Gerard Holt III. They think he may be in Kansas City or possibly Wichita. Alicia Pereira is saying, join Kelsey.
I know, she's been awesome about bringing up cases to me too. Like I said, she's brought up Brian Trester, and I think she brought up a couple other ones that I have on my list too. Yeah. So, yeah, she's real active here.
Yeah, next week we will have to cover that case again, get her back on here again, and see if we can't help get some more information generated. I did get some people send me some information, and I forwarded it on to PD, and they said they'd already been informed of that information. So hopefully it helps.
Yeah, well.
Yep, there you go. Courtney Ann Hoffman. That's it right there.
All you can do is send it over. If they already have it, well, hey,
No, Jared Holt
doing your part.
Yeah.
So.
Is he still a person of interest?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Armed and dangerous. That's lovely.
He looks like a nice guy. I'm just kidding. He looks very scary to me.
Yeah.
If you see this guy in public, for God's sakes, just call the police.
Yeah. And so they believe he may be over in Kansas City or in Wichita.
Don't approach him.
So see if we can't help get it narrowed down a little bit. As we don't want to see this murder
familiar to me, like a.
Because we don't want to see her murder go unsolved for 20, 30 years.
No.
Definitely.
This one seems like they got a good bite on it though. Like they're at least, we'll put it this way, they're looking for this guy, and if he didn't have anything to do with it, if I was that guy and I had nothing to do with it and I heard the police wanted to talk to me, the first place I would go to would be the police station. I'd be like, we can talk all day. I didn't do it.
All right.
The fact that nobody's seen the guy doesn't look too good. Doesn't look too good just running, so I feel like they got it good. But again, that little thing called evidence we talked about earlier and proof, who knows? Who knows what the future of this holds? But this has been an awesome show, you all. Ricky, do you have any last words for us tonight, man?
Well, of course I do. I always do. I want to thank you, Kelsey, again for being with us tonight. And if you want to be a permanent part of the team, you're more than welcome to. Just let me know.
We need the help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need that.
Do you know how I like to dive deep into some of these cases?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, we need that female perspective once in a while.
Right.
Yeah, but I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I know it was a long show. We're coming up almost on an hour and a half.
It was, I know, but
Missy's saying yes, please. You got people rooting for you.
Yay!
Yeah, but anyway, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank Kelsey for being here, and thank Derek for hanging out. It's been an awesome show, and the next show will be this coming Tuesday, which will be May 4th. May 4th. Sorry about that. So join us then. We'll have more cases to go over and more things to talk about. Until then, you guys, stay safe. God bless. Have a good night, and we will see you next week.
Well, I don't think it, I thought it, that's different. I said what I said and I meant it, or lamented. Words given weight without thought, and a person the way that I talk and the way that I ought to be able to pause and to say that the fault can be placed on my arm, to this playful assault, to disgrace in its arm. Pray for the day they could wait for the calm. You can't control the storm, only weather it, whether it's 5 weeks and 5 days of rain sideways, or scorched earth, search for death, or water left with all the thorns, with the petals gone, settle on the breath of autumn. If the crown fits, wear it, the crown fits. If the crown fits, wear it. If the crown fits,